Hey friends, this is Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the best show on the internet named Warcraft Weekly, although I think it's barely holding on. Do us all a favor, like the video, subscribe for more content, and this is it. This is the last weekend before patch 9.2, the next and maybe hopefully kind of final chapter of the Shadowlands saga. All of our questions will be answered over the course of like 6 weeks, in a series of quests and in-game cinematics, and a separate book that you can pre-order. And I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I'm excited. But after all that we've seen and heard and bitched about over the past few months, there's still a few lingering questions, and so a word of warning. I'm gonna sound almost uncharacteristically negative for the next few segments, and I'll try to explain why afterwards. First question, where is the item that lets us add sockets to gear? It's a bit weird that we're close to the 11th hour, and yet we haven't seen an item as regular as this. It was in Season 1, it was in Season 2, so I would expect it in Season 3, simple as that. Sell it with maybe ciphers of the first ones, the research currency in the new zone. Maybe sell it with sand-worn relics, another currency to buy gear that you may not even want. More on that in a little bit. Or preferably, sell it with cosmic flux. Also, where are the other conduit upgrades? In the official preview, we learned that by the time the patch drops, there are going to be 4 levels of hooking yourself up with like all the conduits at once. The first, we have now. It's account tradable, and it gets us item level 200 conduits, just like that. There's a 226 version that's coming in the patch that only needs friendly reputation with the new Enlightened faction, which you should be able to get in like a day or so. There's a 239 version that needs revered rep with the Enlightened faction, and frankly, I don't even know why that's a thing, but anyway, there's also a 272 version, brand new, if you basically beat the game, right. But where's the random upgrade token that we could farm for again and again until we maxed out our conduits? In Season 1, we had the Unbound Reality Fragment to bring our conduits to 226, and that was bought with Stygia. In Season 2, we had the Deathbound Shard, dropped from either the Adamant Vaults or bought with Catalog Research from Corphia. Rift farmers should be very familiar with this one. That took our conduits up to 252s. So what about Season 3? Where's the currency grind that takes our conduits to 278s or whatever? Some would say that, well, I just mentioned it. This vessel here is your path. Just get good at the game and you get the good stuff. But let's not get distracted by that debate. This is different from my statements on tier sets and the creation catalyst. I'm not talking about like what solo and world content players deserve to get, because when it came to upgrading conduits, everyone had that opportunity in Seasons 1 and 2. For all that's been said about the grind for conduits, I don't remember that including complaints that the casuals are getting conduits that they don't deserve. All players had the opportunity to do this earlier, grind the currency for those incremental upgrades. Maybe these blanket conduit upgrades are the next and hopefully last evolution of conduits, wink wink. However, I sort of like consistency where it makes sense. To not include, for example, a conduit farm with like cosmic flux, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, as we move from patch to patch, folks ought to have more opportunities for growth. At worst, the same number of opportunities. But with 9.2, players will have fewer opportunities, with no solo path like in previous seasons, only group paths at not just a high, but the highest skill level. Indirectly, this sort of sends another, even darker message, like maybe you could buy a carry for the sake of obtaining this item, something WoW token, something pay to win. I doubt that's the intention, but with how it's laid out, with so few choices, I can say it. Here's another question. What is the point of this gear that's bought with sand-worn relics? I've been talking about this over the past couple months, and I still haven't come to a good conclusion. Sand-worn gear has an item level of 246 and is obtained with sand-worn relics. It's a currency that drops off of elite mobs in the northern part of Zereth Mortis. As transmog, this set isn't even unique. This color tint drops in the form of BOE gear throughout the zone. Now, one could try to hard farm relics to complete this set as early as possible and have some 246 gear. It's not bad for mid-tier players. The problem is that your activity is going to be limited to mostly this northern part of the zone, just grinding away at mobs. On the other hand, one could also spend time hunting and spending ciphers of the first ones, which is also a grind. And by the way, here's how ciphers work. As you buy and spend ciphers for research, you'll start to see the more powerful gear drop from the zone up to an item level of 252. It's higher than Sandworn gear. Maybe I'm oversimplifying here, but basically I just don't see a point in farming for this gear in the short or the long term. That's why I had an earlier impression that this might be the one kind of gear that could be turned into tier sets. However, I've since been proven wrong. All right, next question, or that is maybe I should share my lack of confidence in knowing 100%. How long will it really take to complete the Cypher Research Console? I've been giving you folks all sorts of information over the course of this patch cycle because, well, things have been changing, and because I wonder if what we're seeing at this point is what we should be seeing. Among testers, the current consensus suggests that while unlocking the columns by researching the options up here on top takes time, the research below is going to be instant. Once these are researched, this unlocks a time skip for alts who can then instantly do research as long as they have the currency needed. I'm starting to wonder if these research times are only going to take 1 second to research as shown here. Many signs say yes, including you just looking at them. Other testers have reported the same, even checking accounts who haven't done any testing at all in an effort to use this kind of pristine account that isn't tainted from multiple tests. Even data mining doesn't suggest foul play or misdirection. But it's the patch notes that's what's causing me to doubt. One of the bullet points reads, players can interact with the Cypher Research Console from the app to view progress and begin new research. Okay, but why? Right now, I'm finishing up a guide to help take you folks through the first few days of patch 9.2 content, including what to optimally research on the console so that you can unlock content like the mount and pet crafting as soon as possible. If the research to open up these columns is the only kind that has a research time, and everything below it does not, why is this supported by the app at all? Because this app feature will be useless in about a week for people who care most about this research. Unlock column 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4. That whole process takes roughly a week. After that, there's nothing here for the app to track. People with alts don't need to track it on the app either because we'll have unlocked the time skips after the first go. At this point, since you've already gone down this rabbit hole with me, let's speculate even more. Maybe originally it was the intent to have these research timers as we saw early in the PTR, and the application would have helped to facilitate this over the course of, well, probably a month or so. Over time though, the team changed their minds. It's reflected in the game, but the app team already put this feature in, and it will in fact be useless after a week. And because many of these timers are gone, the Cypher research level will go up faster, meaning zone drops will overtake this Sandworn gear faster than it would have originally. It turns out that one set of changes cascaded into many things, like the sort of wasted work on an application, and the nullification of an entire gearing path. And it also leaves someone like me to wonder if the intent was to let this gear be used to make tier. Whoops. The story might kind of fit, and in conclusion, I think about WoW development and get into my own headcanon way too much, but I hope that this is even slightly entertaining for you. The common thread from almost everything that I've talked about today is that I'm asking questions about things that I just don't quite know about 100%. I'm asking them because, thanks to a public test realm, I can answer many of the questions that folks have about upcoming content. At least, well, what subjects that I decided to focus on. Don't talk to me about, like, the best specs or encounter guides. Helping is fun. Especially as a content creator who wants to help, there comes the burden of knowing that things are going to change from build to build up to the very last second, up until launch, and even then there might be hotfixes. Some of you might remember in patch 9.1, most videos and guides out there mathed out an entire schedule of how Renown was going to work, and of those, everyone was pretty much wrong because there was a last minute change. It wasn't super impactful, just slightly embarrassing. Later on, we informed you of the teleport to Desmatarian near the entrance of the Sanctum of Domination raid in patch 915, but no one noticed that in order to use it, you had to have cleared the raid once on your account, and virtually every tester on the PTR did clear it at the time, meaning we wouldn't have known otherwise. And here we are at the precipice of a new patch. The rodeo's back in town, so to speak. These unanswered questions and speculation are what results from public testing, knowing but not knowing with absolute certainty. This is the burden that we, who want to inform and be informed, share. There will be a ton of players next week who will log in blissfully unaware. Patch 9.2 will simply be what is in front of them, and not the months of builds and changes and discussions and discourse that's behind us. The question I have for you folks who have been paying close attention is, how did you handle it this time around? And in a broader sense, are you looking forward to 9.2? Feel free to chime in, rage out, or whatever. While I have asked questions throughout this weekly, I'm genuinely looking forward to this patch. After 8 months, who wouldn't be worn out from ICC Part 2, right? Speaking for myself, I really do like zone-based progression that Korthia didn't really pull off in a way that felt impactful to gameplay. In Korthia, I got like currency gains, and a path to upgrade gear from that zone. I also got to click more things around the zone as I progressed through the Archivist Codex, which in hindsight didn't feel all that stimulating. But in Zereth Mortis, I'm gonna see my little robot guy grow stronger and tear up mobs and use these crazy zone buffs to crush elites and rares, while I can kind of smuggle other buffs to other outdoor content. The zone is gonna open up and unlock modest but new layers of content. I'll grow stronger. I'll get to fly. Again, the Jailer's Gauntlet adds a new game mode where the Box of Many Things only really just kind of redefined the already existing features of Torghast. Like every expansion before it, Shadowlands is going to likely end on a mixed note, but with one noticeable difference. There are so many appearances left to collect. So if there's going to be any takeaway that the WoW team ought to take home, takeaway, take home, whatever, is to keep it up with the appearance options. Keep it up with the long-term farms, just don't get all rigid like you did with Covenant switching, and then work on, the rest of the game. There's still a ton of feedback to go through, and that's the show. Next week, you can expect at least 2 guides from me. One is going to be an extended version of the weekly reminder, including how to handle the first few days of 9.2 if you want to, sort of min-max your zone progression. It's not going to be for everybody, but it'll help keep you up to speed. I'll also do an add-on feature. What is up and coming? What is kind of functional? What could be useful for 9.2 and the remainder of Shadowlands? That sort of thing. And content creators from all over are going to have their own guides for how to collect certain mounts and dungeon and raiding counters, and they're going to be making add-ons too, custom weak auras and plater profiles and more. And I really want you to hear me out for this one. This is my call to action, okay? I encourage you to, when you're downloading these add-ons or you're reading and watching these videos that you're not paying for because some advertising company is paying this person, it'll help a lot. So at the very least, leave a comment and just say thanks. It might not put food on the table, but there are tons of creators out there making stuff, not quite knowing who they're going to reach out and connect with. I'll tell you this, I have regulars down there in the comments who say thanks in like every video that I make, and I am grateful. And you folks know who you are. There are a lot of you. They're small reminders of humanity. It's a gesture with a lot of value that creators like me need. And we all need that kind of positivity in our lives, especially these days. So I will pay that forward by thanking you, viewer, for making it to the end of my platitude. To the folks over on Twitch who somehow put up with listening to me go on for like hours just talking about WoW, y'all are crazy. And to the beloved patrons who just give for the sake of giving because all I do is read their names off, ain't that right, Sable? Whose name I probably also butchered. You folks are amazing. Next week marks the start of something new. And it also marks another milestone in the long wait for the next WoW expansion. I hope you join me for more here on this channel by subscribing, like the video to show some support, and say hi over on our Twitch channel. You'll learn very quickly that even the most stupid question will get me talking for long minutes. Tuesdays through Thursdays is how you'll reach me, starting at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. And thank you one more time for going on this journey with me through the 9.2 development cycle. I'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.